You see how Roxy feels about the show? She was like, yeah, that's a pedaço de mim. Name drop.
It was Roxy, it was not us, okay? Hi, I'm Gabi.
I'm KD.
I'm from Brazil.
And I'm from the US.
And today,
we are going to be going over a show that recently dropped on Netflix called Pedaço de Mim.
yes,
Or in English, Desperate Lies.
that is much better.
We'll talk about it later. Basically, this show is a Brazilian show that came on Netflix and decided to review it since it is all in Portuguese, and I can give my take on it from an American standpoint and she can give her view from a Brazilian standpoint, obviously, and then we'll give our thoughts. We're gonna first give a summary, then after the summary, we'll go through points and highlights throughout the show that we liked or disliked or felt could have been different, and then, give an honest review at the end and our final thoughts.
And you can decide if it's worth it or not to watch because it's 17 episodes, 17 hours of your life.
You will never get back.
No.
All right, let's get
go.
into a quick summary with no spoilers. Basically what you see in the trailer is that you have the two main characters, which is Liana, who is played by
Juliana Paz,
and Tomás, who's played by
Vladimir Brista.
what she said. They are a married couple that aren't happily married at the point when the show starts. He's not feeling the passion, but she wants to have kids. She's taking ovulation medication and just coming home like a business plan to try and have these kids. She finds out that he is cheating with a woman named Claudia. So they get into an argument and he decides to leave and go on a biking trip. She's trying to get in touch with him. He's not responding. So she goes out with her best friend and business partner, Débora. Débora takes her to a club that's owned by her little brother, Oscar, who happened to be best friends with Liana's little brother. Oscar claims to have always had a crush on her. They have a night of taking drugs and drinking and stuff like that. He rides with her back to her apartment, basically takes advantage of her, and then SA occurs, okay?
Yes.
Not gonna go into details on that. Next morning she wakes up, regrets it, and wants to forget it. She finally hears from Tomás, and it turns out he was in a bicycle accident during his trip, and that's why he didn't call. She goes to the hospital to see him, they reconcile, everything goes great, but she finds out that she's pregnant. She's worried because the time frame means they could be pregnant by Oscar too. She gets the ultrasound and it turns out it's twins. She gets a DNA test done and come find out that she has a rare condition called, in Portuguese,
Superfecundação heteroparental.
what she said. Basically, it means that the twins have different fathers, and one father is Tomás, the other father is Oscar. So she must make a decision of what she wants to do with her life after that, and that's the spoiler-free summary of what's going to go on.
If you want to continue, it's your risk.
Yeah, here henceforth, spoilers and stuff. After she finds out what's going on, she talks to her sister-in-law who does the ultrasound, which is Sylvia, about the situation because she found out through the doctor.
The same doctor that Liana got the result works at the same place that Sylvia works. And Sylvia is Tomás' sister. When the doctor started to talk with Sylvia that he had this very rare case, she started to realize when this happened. She saw the initials of Liana and it's like, it's Liana. She called her and said, hey, I know what happened. I can imagine how you are suffering to keep the secret only for you. What do you want to do? They start to talk and Liana decided to talk to Tomás about the situation.
So she tells him the situation was going on and he's naturally furious about it. The natural knee-jerk reaction is to abort the pregnancy, but then when he realizes that one of them is his, he has the idea of trying to abort just one of the babies, which medically couldn't work. So then Liana has the idea of putting the other baby up for adoption, which to a point that Gabby has made, this is the first lie that Liana tells in this whole plot and scheme, is that she is actually only pregnant with one baby because they plan to give the other baby up for adoption once it is born.
And that's what she said to everybody that asked, the bell is too big. I think they're twins. No. It's just one. The only people that knew were twins were Sylvia and Tomás. Nobody else.
Some characters that will come in later that kind of happen in this time period is one, you meet Sylvia's son, who is Ignacio, my favorite character.
That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
Ignacio has special needs because He has a condition where his eyesight is diminishing. At the point we first meet him, I think he's like 11. And by the time he grows up, he goes completely blind. Liana has a school that specializes with occupational therapy with Deborah. That's what their business is together. And one of the kids is Ignacio, who is her nephew through marriage. Keep him in mind. Tomasz works at a law firm with his dad, so it's a family business. This law firm, one of their clients happens to be Oscar's dad, who always uses this law firm to help get Oscar out of trouble. Turns out it wasn't the first time that something of the nature that happened with Liana happened with Oscar, because Oscar sells these drugs at his club and endorses this behavior.
He's a bad guy.
He's very, very bad. The situation happens with another girl and one of his friends. Girl wants to press charges, but Tomasz's dad makes it all go away. Oscar realizes who Tomasz is, but Tomasz doesn't like Oscar. Remember this, because it's one of my points later on, because it could have stopped a whole lot of stuff if Tomasz had acted on him being a douchebag this early on. Flash forward, they continue with the pregnancy, and it's clear that Tomasz doesn't want to have this kid, but Liana is starting to grow attached to the kid, even though it is connected to trauma. She finds some people that were willing to adopt, and she expresses that she wants the name of the kid to be Marcos. First kid would be Mateus. They go and they have the kids away, a house distant. They live in Rio, but they go to, I guess, in the mountains.
And like when she gave birth, she realized, oh my God, I really love both kids. It's not only Mateus, Tomasz's son, but I also love Marcos. Even Marcos is the fruit of the person that abused me. I can understand, I'm not a mom, but I totally understand that feeling. Like one thing is when you think and you plan what you're gonna do, and another thing is when the things happen. So the action that she had is like, not today. I regret. I don't want to give my kid to adoption. Tomás took Marcos delivery to the parents, and the next day she drove there and got Marcos again.
In my personal opinion, this was a point where the path started to really diverge. It wasn't another lie being created, but at this point when she went and got Marcos and didn't go through with giving him up for adoption, I'm not saying that that's the wrong choice, but when you accepted that he's back, then you need to start coming clean and telling truths to the people about what actually happened. And she didn't. She was 10 toes down in keeping the secret of what happened, and that both these kids were Tomasz's kids, which obviously Tomasz did not want. He kind of forced him, in my opinion, into a situation he did not want to be in. Because of that, it causes problems way down the line.
Forced, because he accepted.
We can talk about it later, but to me, she forced. Like, what is he supposed to do at that point?
They talk like adults. It's like, this is our situation. What are you gonna do? We say that we have twins now, and both are my kids. That's what we're gonna say for people. He agreed with that.
So no, he did not agree with that. He went along with what she said. The plan was to put the kid up for adoption. When she bought the kid back, he was being strong-armed. If I say no, then I'm losing both kids. Because it's not like you're gonna stay with me if this is what you want and I say no. It's like I lose everything if I say no. At this point, I'm not saying that he was right to be as resentful as he was. I'm just saying that she cannot be not held responsible because of how he was, knowing that at this point he was being strong-armed into this situation. What he should have did at that point, tell the truth to everybody.
Oh yeah.
And then that would have definitely had lava in mouth.
Let people think.
No, I'm not gonna go behind your lie. If you wanna have this kid, I'm telling the truth to everybody. I'm not gonna keep a lie for you and accept this path that you're choosing for us.
But it's a show, it's entertainment, so they need to keep it going.
Of course. Continuing on, Tomasz cares more about Mateus than he does Marcos throughout their lives, growing up till the point that they're about 10 years old. Skipping over, Oscar, after everything happens, Tomasz secretly goes behind his back to one of his police friends to try and expose what Oscar is doing at the nightclub, causing him to have to give up the nightclub. And he takes this opportunity to leave and go to Argentina. So he's not around when the kids are growing up to the age of 10, but just decides one day to come back to Brazil because he misses home.
And when he got back, he started to be around of Liana and Tomás and Débora. Remember Débora?
Business partners.
Business partner Liana. So he always around. And every time that Liana look at him, she had this fear. They would know that Marcos is Oscar kid. Even because they are very similar in the way that the attitude, they look like each other. Some point right there that Oscar started to realize, like, maybe, like, and he started to connect the dots. He started to think that Marcos could really be his kid. In fact, he thought the twins both are his kid.
So with this suspicion, he starts to try and come around a lot more. The kids are playing futsal. For Americans, futsal is indoor soccer with a smaller ball.
And small team.
And they playing for the same club that Liana's brother, who is dead, and Oscar played for when they were kids. Also, a coach of this team is Claudia. Claudia is the mistress of Tomás from the first episode. Everything comes back full circle. Oscar is a legend of the club, so the coach allows him to come in and do whatever he wants. Liana has a big anxiety about it and wants him gone, but he's basically stalking and pressing the situation.
To get some money.
Tomás finds out he's also doesn't want Oscar around, so he's like, stay away from the kids. Oscar tries to open up a nightclub again, ends up becoming part friends with the guy that Tomás hired to bust him in the first place, and lets him know, that guy lets him know that Tomás was the person. Now Oscar has a revenge to try and get money from Tomás. After keep coming around and not leaving the kids alone, Tomás goes to Oscar and is like, what money do you want? Name your price. And Oscar's like, I want to destroy you. Which to me was the most confusing point, and this is one of my plot holes in the thing, because if you want money, you had the opportunity to say the money that you wanted and let it go. If you wanted more than that, then it would be to just accept responsibility for a kid that you have with a woman and you don't want kids. He verbally said to Claudia, because mind you, he ended up having a fling with Claudia, that I don't want kids, but you wanna, she even made a comment, she's like, so what, you wanna play child support for a kid that's not, they're trying not to make yours? It didn't make sense. What did Oscar actually want? He would end up with more baggage, losses. The only thing would probably be pride for his father to have a grandchild. Maybe that's it. It was like no reason for him to prove it, and he had the opportunity to get money and he turned it down. Anyway, the guy gives Oscar a gun. Gun flashed at Tomás and family. Tomás feels threatened and gets a gun himself. Oscar comes over when the kids are gone, breaks into Liana's and Tomás's house. Tomás comes home, sees him, pulls gun on Oscar. Oscar tries to take gun away. Oscar gets shot and killed by Tomás. Tomás goes to jail for 12 years. Liana takes kids and goes to the mountains.
And it's like, in that point, for 6 years, they try to have a normal life. Kids were going to school, keep working with the occupational therapist. After 6 years, because of good behavior of Tomás, he was able to leave. Apparently inside of the jail, Tomás had a revelation.
He got tatted, the truth shall set you free. Important things to note: while he was in jail, he was writing to Liana and told her never to come see him. Told the kids never to come see him.
But he kept in touch with Claudia.
But Claudia wrote him and
anyway,
said, yo,
so
I'm the one that swabbed the kid's cheek. I felt responsible. And he's like, it's okay, come on through. So she and him have been talking this entire time and have this elaborate plan of how he's going to become a politician because of how he influenced people with the truth while he was in jail. Once he gets out and goes to see Liana, he tells her, truth shall set you free. So his plan is to expose the truth. His delivery was wrong, but telling the truth, that was right, and that's what she should have did. Up until this point, I'm like, yeah, she's wrong, but then eventually it comes out and she tells the truth. And I'm like, okay. Redemption. Now I'm on her side, all right. Tomasz is crazy.
I was with her side since the beginning.
To the boys, they understand the situation. First, they understand it as Oscar was coming around, was trying to be buddy with them, and then Dad killed Oscar because they said that he was a bad guy. That's all they knew. Then it comes out that Oscar is actually Marcos' dad. But the reason of how everything went down, Liana still was not telling. She was going to take it to the grave. And that caused more confusion because they were trying to give off this notion that Liana and Oscar had an affair. And it wasn't like that. It was abuse. So to the kids, the mom was in there cheating, and that was what caused Tomasz to shoot him. But then eventually she finally lets it all go and is like, he abused me, but I wanted to keep you two together. And when she said that, it was like the bond between them could not be broken. Of course, things happened between that. Marcos was going through a whole spell where he was very confused. Obviously, he felt like he didn't have a place. He always wanted to be a part of Tomasz's family. He wanted to take over the law firm, and all that was kind of crushed because Tomasz never loved him. So he went through a whole identity crisis, ran away, got amnesia, but at the end ended up bonding together.
And it's like we said in the beginning, if they didn't lie since the beginning, of course, there is no story. All the point, and that's why I think that an English name is better than in Portuguese, because in English it's desperate lies, because desperate lies. Liana was so desperate to cover everything. Since she was abused, that she didn't tell to anybody, just Sylvia knew it. Even her best friend, she didn't know. I understand that can be very complicated for you to assume for people what happened with you. She was ashamed, but if she didn't tell the first lie, nothing else will happen.
Just to wrap up the general gist of the story, after she tells everything, Tomasz still wants to have a connection with Mateus. He plans to marry Claudia and run for political office. They go to Rio to have the wedding, but of course Marcos isn't invited. But his granddad, the father of Oscar, still resents Tomasz and wants to have him killed. So he takes his gun, he's about to kill him, but Marcos runs to the place with Auntie Debbie and basically saves Tomasz's life. And even at that point, Tomasz is like, thank you, but you're still not my son. Bestera. BS. And he's about to leave. Mateus says, no, just stay, Marcos. If he's here, I'm here. And tells Tomasz to sit down and goes off on Tomasz. Tomasz is like, yo, we don't need to talk about this, right? He's like, no, you're gonna listen to this right here. There's no Mateus without Marcos, no Marcos without Mateus. He is a Pedaço de Mim. And that is the name drop of how it ended up being these in Portuguese, okay?
And that makes sense.
Desperate Lies was like appearing episode 2. Pedaço de Mim took to episode 17 to realize. So basically, they tell him, I don't want to talk to you ever again. Tomasz spirals. Liana tells the truth in the book. The book becomes a bestseller. She's at conferences now. His YouTube views are down. So he decides he's gonna try and set them afire, tries to kill them. Doesn't work. They get out, and now he's back in jail. And Claudia steals, I'm gonna stick beside him.
Look at the screen.
That's mine.
And that's what you're gonna settle for.
I'm gonna stick beside him.
We get the visitor badge, it's like, go ahead, babe, because they're married now.
They deserve each other.
And that's essentially how the main story ends. Even though that's the main story, there are some characters throughout the show. Like, again, I didn't even mention my favorite character, Ignacio, okay? This show was crazy.
Yeah.
Whoever wrote this script knew there's so much crazy that we need logic to ground these people. That's where Ignacio comes in, okay? Ignacio, Sylvia, and Vicente. The three of them together, that family kept Kedrick there. Ignacio is a good-hearted, straight to the point person, and him going navigating life and getting what he wants, it kept me humble.
For me, all that family, they are a very good balance. Everybody's messed up. All the toxic relationship between everybody. But Sylvia and her family, even that she has some problems to overprotect Ignacio because he's losing his vision, she admitted that. She didn't lie. They are very good balance between the toxic families around the whole show.
Ignacio, he got mugged, didn't call Sylvia. When she found out, why didn't you call me? It was like, why would I call you? To let you know I got mugged, you saying? At least the person that mugged me treated me like a normal individual, unlike my own mother. I'm like,
that's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
Definitely my favorite character, hands down.
What are the characters that you didn't like?
I mean, Oscar.
Oscar.
Oscar, of course. He's like King Vapo.
I would say Oscar too. I would say Deborah, it's not that she's bad. She's really
She's
confused. Naive a little bit. Something that people do with their brothers or sons. It's like, oh my God, my brother, my son will never do something like that. No, you don't know.
I had like 4 plot holes. Liana's brother, who was best friends with Oscar, got killed because he was driving under the influence with Oscar. But Oscar's dad covered it up and made it seem like Lucas.
Lucas' fault.
That whole situation was kind of like, they just like let it there. There was no justice for that at the end. That was one thing. And then again, Oscar's motive, that was another thing. And then Tomasz knew what happened with Oscar at the club, so why not use that to corroborate Liana's story instead of like saying Liana must be lying and about to say, like, you know what he does. Like,
I don't think that anybody that watched the show will regret to watch the show. There are 17 episodes, yes. But at the end, you will be satisfied the way that the story ends. It was not like Game of Thrones. The last thing that I want to say about the show for me is like some details, and I don't know if you pay attention, is like Lucas, Mateus, Marcos, all the first Bible
Bible
guys.
names, okay.
Bible names.
it didn't click because Matthew, Mark, Luke, John for
Yeah,
me.
but it was missing John. So,
Yeah.
but what people on the internet was saying, I was seeing the time that Tomás was in the prison reading the Bible and remove all the Marcos pages from the Bible. Nope, I don't like him.
As soon as Liana's like, yeah, and Marco. Marco? Who the hell is Mark? You gave it a name? The last plot hole or something I had is, I don't understand, and I don't know if this is a Brazil thing, but the gun laws in Brazil kind of confuse me. New York kind of works this way too. Like, if you have a gun, period, you're going to jail. So I couldn't understand him coming into their apartment and threatening and him lunging at him and Thomas shooting Oscar. To me, didn't seem like something that they would convict him as like a killer because of this, because it wasn't self-defense, because it's not like Oscar didn't have a gun, but at the same time it just didn't make sense. Okay, say it is because in Rio or in Brazil you can't have a gun, period. When Oscar flashed the gun at Tomasz, why didn't Tomasz call the police and be like, this guy has a gun? He's a lawyer. He's obviously connected with the police. Why not call them and be like, yo, he has a gun. Pull him over. Just check the car. He has a gun. He's going to jail. That just didn't make sense law-wise. There's a lot of things that kind of thread the needle like a novella does.
And even it's like thinking now, the defense of Tomás, I'm not saying that Tomás was right, but if Liana said the truth, Oscar abused me and he went to my house, opened the door and started to yelling to me, and like, I thought that he will abuse me again. Tomás could be the self-defense, but nobody say anything, and it's like, go to the jail.
For the story's sake, I understand. In order to get Tomasz in a place to do what he ended up doing later in the story, he had to lose a lot. But him getting to 6 years in jail just, to me, was a plot hole initially. That, again, once it got to the end, it closed everything up. It's like, all right, Tomasz is a piece of shit anyway. So
Yeah, he is.
that's pretty much all the plots of the show. One thing I want to say in closing is that this show was suggested, this is not the reason we watched it, but was suggested at the end of the Love is Blind reunion.
Boy, ain't no way, boy.
Y'all need help, okay? This type of show you suggest?
If you watch our video talking about Love is Blind, you know, and if you watch the Love is Blind reunion, you know what we're talking about. But it's like, as soon as the characters start to, hey, wait a minute. We're back into looking the Love is Blind reunion, that at the end of the, and now you should watch Pedaço de Mim. And like,
This is
what?
What? And I can't prove it in the court of law, but Global, you bastards. I know you were behind this somehow, okay? But
Just because the actors
I don't care. I can't prove it in the court of law, but I know Global's behind this. Feel it in my soul.
What I think that maybe happens, like the person that wrote and produced the show first starts trying to sell to Global. Global didn't want, and they sold to Netflix, and Netflix paid. It's being very good.
Yeah.
People, they are talking about the show. and now global regret.
A point that she made is that the style and format of soap operas, novellas, and TV shows in Brazil kind of works differently than the US, in my personal opinion. I can't think of a 17 episode, each an hour long, that is on Netflix from the US. If you have something that's 17 episodes, in the US, it was a sitcom that aired for a season. They did 17 straight. Some of these episodes look like they just put the title card and the ending card in between it. It's like, went to sleep. Next episode. I can't believe.
Some people say that it's very similar with drama style. They are not too long like soap opera, and they are not too short like a show. They are like in between.
But all in all, I would say that it ended up being very good.
Yeah.
It seemed like they got through the whole story in the first 2 episodes. I was like, well, I don't know where they're gonna go, but they kept it going. The Nacio was there. Use him. He's your comfort character, and Nacio.
Nice. I hope that you like this video, and if you like this video,
Like the video.
subscribe to the channel,
And turn on the notification bell.
please. And we'll see you in the next video.
All right.
Kiss, kiss.
Ciao, ciao.
Bye bye.
Beijo.